We all sat looking at Frank and Teddy in the dim torchlight of the Disney Hell Management Office. He had just explained what Satan intended to do, though the why was still a mystery. "What do you mean he's going to close up hell?" Miss Hatchetface asked, astounded. "He believes that the future of hell is not stable. He wishes to relocate all operations to Earth." "But why?" I asked. "What does Earth have that hell doesn't?" "A great many things, Lord Rogers. Cotton candy, cartoons involving talking sponges, and perhaps most importantly, human souls." "Wait a second," Miss Hatchetface cut in. "That doesn't make sense. If human souls are what Satan wants, then why go back to hell? Why not stay here and oversee Earth operations?" "I do not know that answer," Frank and Teddy said. "He seems to believe there is some imminent threat to hell's safety." The words of Satan's phone call echoed in my mind. "Earth too?" he had said. I wondered. "He could be planning anything," I said. "I can't get a handle on that guy. One minute he's all smiles and friendly, and the next minute he's razing a beloved family theme park to the ground." Miss Hatchetface shook her head. "You don't know the half of it," she said. "I'd be surprised if Satan knew what his plans were. He's always been a couple dice short of a Yahtzee." "What is a Yahtzee?" "It's a game where," I began. "It's just a way of saying Satan is crazy." "Oh, of course." "We need to find out what he's up to," Miss Hatchetface said. Her face was stern and determined. "How?" I asked. "He's all the way down in hell." "Do you know where he went, Frank and Teddy?" Miss Hatchetface asked. "I do not." "Then how do we find him?" I asked. "I have an idea," Miss Hatchetface said, "but you're not going to like it." "Well, what is it?" "If Sarah really is Satan's descendant, demons will be compelled to obey her. We could find someone who knows where Satan went and we can track him down." "But isn't hell dangerous?" I asked. "Not for the descendant of Satan." I scratched at my chin. "All right," I said. "Let's do it." "You want to go to hell?" "Please don't put it that way." "Let us make haste to the kingdom of Satan." "That's better, I guess." Frank and Teddy lifted up his arms and black and purple flames surrounded us, whisking us down to hell. We arrived to a red wasteland of yellow bones and black smoke. The sky was blood red and the clouds were bruised purple. Obsidian cliffs crowded the landscape and the air had a sulfuric tang. "Where are we?" I coughed. "This is supposed to be Satan's office." "It's gone," Miss Hatchetface said, stunned. "Where do we go now?" I scanned the horizon, but it was empty except for a colossal blue rock. "There," Sarah said, pointing at the rock. "There?" I asked. "The rock?" "It's not a rock," she replied. "What do you mean it's not a—" The rock stirred, sat up, and began to pick its nose. Oh. What I saw could only be described as a troll. It had thick, scaly blue skin and sat on the ground with its legs splayed out like a drunk toddler. It had two stubby white horns that looked like it had been chipped at with a jackhammer. It was clothed in nothing except a raggedy loincloth that could have served as a tent for a family of 5. It pushed itself up with a stone club the size of a Buick and stared dumbly at us as we approached. We were bathed in the hot stink of its breath as it growled. "Can it talk?" I asked Miss Hatchetface. "Of course I can talk," it said. "I was just clearing my throat." "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll have you know that I have a PhD in demonic studies." "Okay." The troll demon reached into one of its pockets of its loincloth and pulled out a pair of gold-rimmed spectacles. He pulled a rag from another pocket and wiped them off and put them on. "Now, what do you want?" "We were wondering if you knew where we could find Satan," Miss Hatchetface asked. The demon patted its huge bell. "Last I heard he was on Earth." "That's it? Do you know what happened here? Where is Satan's office?" The troll demon rubbed its chin. "Now why should I tell you?" I opened my mouth to respond, but Sarah patted me on the arm and said, "I'll handle this one, Daddy." She stepped towards the demon and puffed out her chest. "My name is Sarah Rogers," she said. and I'm the direct descendant of Satan. I command you to tell us what you know." "The human descendant of Satan? Not likely." The demon growled so loud that the earth shook below our feet, and our hair was blown back by its rank breath. "You sound like you've got a cold, buddy," I offered. "Would you like a throat lozenge?" "I am in pain," it roared. "Can you not tell the difference?" No. Why are you in pain?" "I cannot refuse an order from one with the blood of Satan." What do you want to know?" "Tell us everything you know," Sarah said. "Well, I know quite a lot. I have a PhD in demonic studies." "You already said that. Just tell us the interesting stuff," Sarah replied. "Fine. Satan's office was here, and now it's not. I was asleep and I didn't see what happened." "That's it?" Sarah asked. "Do you have any idea where Satan went?" "He has forbidden me from telling. I cannot say, even to his descendant." There was another earth-shattering roar, and the demon fell to its knees. "He went to the gate of Araktar." The demon dropped his club to the ground, sending up a cloud of red dust that all but blinded us. He was a shadow in the dusty fog as he seized his head with both hands and roared. Without warning, he grabbed the club again and swung it at us. He caught Frank and Teddy in the shoulder and the bear went flying. "Stop!" Sarah yelled. The demon smashed his club down next to her, missing by inches. The ground splintered and chunks of dust and rock went flying. He swung the club at Miss Hatchetface and she stuck her hands out in front of it and caught it as it slammed into her chest. The blow sent her back 20 feet, but she didn't let go of the club. She leapt on top of it and dug her bare hands into the stone as the demon raised in for another strike. I rolled out of the way as the club came crashing down beside me. I looked up to see Miss Hatchetface clinging to the demon's head. He grabbed hold of her and pulled her off, squeezing her in his enormous troll fingers. Something smashed into me from behind and it sent me face first into the dust. I looked up to see Frank and Teddy sprinting full-toed at the demon. He buried a fist into the demon's pendulous gut and dropped Miss Hatchetface. She didn't move once she hit the ground. The demon raised its club to strike again, but there was a bright flash of silver light and the demon's head grew 10 times its size, sending him toppling headfirst to the ground, unconscious. I looked over to my left and I saw Sarah holding the remote of Minor Inconveniences. Frank and Teddy stood panting with his hands on his knees and Miss Hatchetface still wasn't moving. I ran over and knelt beside her. Her eyes were closed. I bent down to see if she was still breathing. Achoo! Her forehead smashed into mine as she lurched forward to sneeze. I saw stars. "Sorry," she said. "I'm allergic to hell dust." "It's fine," I said, rubbing my head. "You've got a really hard skull." She grinned. "Thank you," she said. Frank and Teddy walked up and held out what looked like a polka-dotted piece of tablecloth. "A handkerchief for the lady Hatchetface," he said. "Oh, thank you, Frank and Teddy," she said. "But where did you get this?" "From my pocket." "You have pockets?" "Of course." "But you don't wear clothes." "And?" "Nothing, I don't need a handkerchief. Thanks, Frank and Teddy." Miss Hatchetface looked a bit green as she handed the handkerchief back to Frank and Teddy. "Are you, going to put it in your pocket?" she asked. "Later." "Okay." Sarah came over and sat down in the dirt next to Miss Hatchetface. She didn't say anything, but the look on her face made it clear that she was worried. "What the hell happened just now?" I asked. She shook her head. "I don't know," she said, "but it's not good. He shouldn't have been able to attack someone with the blood of Satan. The moment he swung the club, he should have burst into flames and..." She looked at Sarah. "What?" Sarah asked. "How did you make the demon obey you?" "What do you mean?" "You shouldn't have been able to counteract Satan's orders, unless you somehow have more satanic blood than Satan himself, which is impossible." Sarah frowned. "Regardless," Miss Hatchetface said, "this is no longer the place for a human little girl and her father to be wandering around. Frank and Teddy, I want you to take them back." Sarah opened her mouth as if she was about to argue, but she seemed to think better of it and closed it again, slumping her shoulders. "I also believe it to be prudent," Frank and Teddy replied. He raised his arms and the purple and black flames licked up around us. But this time, there was no sensation of being sucked up through a straw. This time, we stayed exactly where we were. What the? Miss Hatchetface said, stunned. I do not understand, Frankenteddy boomed. Miss Hatchetface turned her face skyward. Oh my god, she said. He sealed it up. It cannot be. What happened? I said. Miss Hatchetface looked at me. She had gone so pale that she could have passed for a human. Satan sealed the exits of hell, she said. There's no way for us to get back to Earth. Not until we find him. Oh, then I guess we have to go to this Oraktar place, wherever that is. Have you been there? At the mention of Oraktar, Miss Hatchetface went even paler. No demon is permitted at the gate of Oraktar but Satan himself, she said. Evil things live there. More evil than demons? Much more. I really wish that I'd never gone to hell. We trekked across the flat expanse of the blood-red desert. As we grew closer to the gate of Oraktar, the landscape became more and more difficult to traverse. The sand became loose and our feet sank in when we walked. Giant yellow bones jutted up like broken teeth. I had tried asking Miss Hatchetface about what we'd find at Oraktar, but she wouldn't say a word. Likewise, Frankenteddy's usual cheerful demeanor had been replaced by an air of nervous silence. And so, we made our way in silence, to a place of which even demons feared to speak. The gate loomed as an enormous gray edifice in the distance. The monumental slate gray stone pillars dominated the landscape, disappearing into the haze of dust that had replaced the clouds. Between them stood an oaken door that must have been the size of a small town. Why does the gate have to be so big? I asked. My voice sounded small against the enormity of the structure before me. As if in the answer, the ground shook and fissures snaked their way up the pillars. The gate threatened to crumble at any minute, and I really hoped we weren't under it when it did. We arrived at the gate to see Satan standing there, jabbering away on his cell phone. I'm sure we can work something out, he said, tugging at his collar. There's no need to. Yes, I understand that, but. Satan! Miss Hatchetface yelled. Satan spun around on his heel and looked at us. What the hell are you guys doing down here? He asked. You shouldn't use bad words in front of Sarah, Miss Hatchetface chastised. It's okay, Sarah said. I'm used to it. Okay, Satan replied. But seriously, you guys shouldn't be here right now. We don't want to be here, Miss Hatchetface said. But someone sealed off the exits to hell. Alright, I'll unseal them, but you have to promise to. The ground shook again and the cracks in the pillars deepened and spread like errant lightning bolts. Pieces of stone rained down from the sky like deadly rain. No, 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 Satan said into his cell phone. I'm not ignoring you. Some friends of mine just showed up and, listen, now's not really a good time for the apocalypse. Do you think maybe we could... What's that now? They're from Earth, why? But, how is that possible? No, sir, I'm not questioning your judgment. Okay, I'll let them know. Satan tried clicking the phone shut, but dropped it on the ground by mistake. I've never been good with these things anyway, he said. The claws make it hard to type. Satan, what the hell is going on? Miss Hatchetface asked. Well, the Elder Gods seem to have, awoken. Anyway, you know how the big bosses are. Always apocalypse this and mass genocide that. The Elder Gods? Miss Hatchetface bit her lip and went ghost white. How did that happen? Well, you know Jerry. Jerry who? Jerry the intern. Satan, there are like 8 interns named Jerry. He's the one with the axe in his head. You mean Frinzel? That's just his nickname. His real name is Jerry. Okay, what about him? Well, he was supposed to perform the rite of everlasting slumber a couple weeks ago, but the goat he slaughtered was actually just a llama. Turns out Jerry isn't so smart. Maybe it's the axe in his head. So the gods woke up. Aren't there safeguards against that sort of thing? Well, you know Gary the intern. Miss Hatchetface sighed. I don't want to know, Satan. So the Elder Gods are up and they're planning to demolish hell, is that it? Well, Satan tugged at his collar. Well, what? Yes, and also Earth, but it's okay, I've got a plan. Oh no, Miss Hatchetface planted her hand on her forehead. It's easy, Satan said. All you have to do is... The great oaken door to the netherworld cracked and bulged in the center. sending giant splinters of wood flying off like missiles, and then it gave and the beast from the netherworld burst forth. The netherworld creature was like something from a nightmare. It was an oily black monstrosity that distorted the reality around it as it shape-shifted and shimmered. It was colossal beyond imagining, and its true form was indiscernible as it swallowed the light around it. I had to do a double take as the next being came striding out of the netherworld gate. It was a human woman, dressed in a black, form-fitting blazer and a pencil skirt. I looked around for Satan to explain, but I couldn't see him amongst the rubble. I wondered if he had been crushed by a falling rock. The woman checked her clipboard and pushed her wire-rimmed glasses up her nose. "Is there a Miss Sarah Rogers present?" Yeah," Sarah said. The secretary glanced over at her glasses. "Hello, Miss Rogers. I represent the legal interests of Mr. Urznak, the World Eater." "Okay." "First off, Mr. Urznak wanted to extend his sincerest apologies to you that you were nearly crushed to death by a troll demon earlier today. Mr. Urznak had simply wanted to invade the mind of the demon to communicate with you. But however, as I'm sure you know, homicidal fury is an unfortunate side effect of being mind controlled by a netherworld being." "I was almost crushed to death because of a side effect?" "We maintain that the convenience of netherworld mind control outweighs the side effect profile. Cholesterol medications have side effects too, but without them, Earth people wouldn't be able to gorge themselves on double cheeseburgers with impunity." "Okay, well, why did he want to talk to me?" The secretary checked her clipboard again. "It seems Mr. Urznak had the Earth scheduled for demolition this Wednesday," she said. "Today's Wednesday." "Yes, however, it has come to Mr. Urzak's attention that a netherworld refugee is still at large within the realm of Earth. As such, the Earth cannot be destroyed at this time." "So what does this have to do with me?" Sarah asked. "We have the refugee listed as Miss Sarah Rogers," the secretary said. "Me? But I'm not from the netherworld. I'm from Earth." Sarah turned to me. "Right, Dad?" "Yeah, that's right," I said, turning to the nameless secretary. "I was there for the birth." The secretary checked the clipboard again. "This record is for Sarah Rogers Sr." Sarah's eyes went wide. "Mom? Are you telling me that my ex-wife is from the netherworld?" I asked. "How is that even possible?" "We had a foreign exchange program set up with the University of Arizona in 1987. I met my wife at the University of Arizona in 1987. "Well, there you go." "Wait, isn't that the year of all those students went missing for 2 months and then came back possessed by demons? And then it was covered up by the administration." "I don't know about that, sir." "Well, it really seems like you would." The secretary cleared her throat. "The netherworld is absolved from legal responsibility for any unfortunate demon possession events. Those students signed waivers. They waived their rights to not be possessed by demons." "Nobody reads those things," she said, shrugging her shoulders. "Look," I said, "I have no idea where my ex-wife is." "Well, I'd suggest you'd find her," the secretary said. "In the meantime, as a descendant of the netherworld being, your daughter will stay here." "What?" "Don't worry, Mr. Rogers," she said. "We have an excellent daycare here in the netherworld." "This is unacceptable," Franken-Teddy boomed. "I will not abandon my charge to the dangers of the netherworld." "It's perfectly safe," the secretary said. And then she crouched down and put on a big fake grin as she looked at Sarah. "Here, girl," she said in a high-pitched voice. "I'm not a dog," Sarah said. "Fine," the secretary said, standing up and making a note on her clipboard. She snapped her fingers and an orb of shining black light enveloped Sarah. "Hey, stop that," I yelled. Franken-Teddy ran at the orb, but he got there too late. Sarah had vanished. "Thank you very much for your understanding, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Urznak the World Eater would be very grateful if you could locate the netherworld refugee, as you were the last person to have seen her." The secretary in the netherworld began slunking back through what remained of the gate. The shattered stone stubs of the pillar crumbled to dust as we stared at each other. "Well, what do we do now?" I said. And the others merely shrugged.